Aloha, this video is in response to Kegan, pages 75 through 100, and it starts out just talking about a married couple and some problems that they're having, and a single mother, and it gives a lot of examples, but the interesting thing about this reading was that it brought out a fourth level of consciousness, as it talked about these different problems that were going on with Peter and Lynn, as well as a single mother, Alice, and her two children. It talked about how, the first and the second and third level of consciousness and possible solutions to the problem. There had been a survey done for this single mother trying to raise her two children, and a few different problems that they were having. Nothing too extraordinary. They're problems that happen all the time, but just some different possibilities and responses that they got back if they were in this single mother's positions, and how they would solve these problems. One of them being a child who can't get up and go to school and makes her little sister late, who really has a hard time with that, because her little sister likes to really be on time and is trying hard to get to school on time. It's frustrating to the mom, it's frustrating to the little sister, and how they would kind of resolve this issue. And the first response was that the single mother were to, stay in the room, make sure she's out of bed, make sure she gets dressed, and walk her step through this process, but to make sure that she's getting these things done. But the second process talked about teaching her consequences for her actions. And this fourth level of consciousness would agree very much more with the second response in teaching her consequences, because the second response went a little bit more into detail about how it would fix the little girl's relation with her sister, how it would fix her relation with her mom, and how the mom and the little sister's relationship could improve as well. And that's kind of what this fourth level of consciousness is. It's not just seeing the relationship between mother and daughter, but it's seeing other relationships and connecting values and ideas that are important, trying to see it on a higher plane. If we go back to the wave example and the currents that we've been talking about in class, that in order to have and being subject to or being object to these values, if we're just being had by them and subjective to these values that are in our lives and that we want to live by, or if we're using them to our advantage, and if we are using them objectively in order to improve our relationships with others, in order to improve how we are living our lives. And it's a higher level of thinking that I don't know that I see very often. Probably more than I think I do. I'd have to watch a little bit more carefully now that I've seen the reading and understand this fourth level of consciousness. But I really enjoyed reading it, and really liked looking at the different way to see things. What was really interesting was that in reading my scriptures today, I had been reading Ephesians chapter 6, and in verse 12 it talked about we're not in a war against flesh, but we're in a war of but we fight against principalities and against ideals, and that was just a really good scripture. I'm paraphrasing, but that was something that I thought very interesting, how it connected to the reading, that it's that we want to be objective with these ideals and these principalities and these powers that are present around us, rather than being subjective to them. I think that that's what makes us a little bit more like our Father in heaven, and I thought it was a really neat connection that I saw.